Hello and welcome to Candidates on the Clock, hosted by the Newton Chamber of Commerce, sponsored by Duodeco Search Engine Marketing and Onyx Media Services. I'm your host, Lanier Sims. Today we're joined by Justin Hips, who's running for Newton County Sheriff. To start, could you introduce yourself and provide an overview of your career in law enforcement? Following that, could you discuss your platform for sheriff and what inspired you to pursue this role?
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Justin Hips. I've been in Newton County since I was two, so going on almost 38 years now. I've been in Newton County and started my law enforcement career here at the sheriff's office in 2006. I did 6.5 years here. Then I had an opportunity to where I was able to move my career, to further my career. So I transferred to the city of Lawrenceville, where I spent almost a decade up there. While in Lawrenceville, I was able to do quite a few things, as well as here in the sheriff's office too in Newton County. I was a supervisor here in Newton County. I ran our crime suppression unit, which was one of our specialized units that enforced narcotics, street robberies, burglaries. We focused on real heavy, high crime areas. But then, like I said, when I was up in Lawrenceville, I was a detective up there for right at about 7 years. Then I got promoted to sergeant. Throughout there, I was able to finish my college education. I got my degree. I was able to also get my certificates and my supervision and management certificates. And then I was up there for, like I said, a total of almost 10 years. And then I come back home here in Newton County. So, working in Lawrenceville was a great place, but it just was never home for me, and plus, I was making that hour-and-a-half drive every day, and that kind of gets consuming. And so I come back here, and now I'm a criminal investigator for the district attorney's office. So my platform it's simple. We need proactive policing, and this county for years has been in what's called what I say is a reactive agency. And so crime is it's just not getting handled like it needs to, and we have got to do things and find ways to be proactive to prevent crime, because that is law enforcement's number one job, is to prevent crime. And that's exactly what I'm going to focus on. And there's a lot of things that we can put in place to make it happen.
Thank you. So let's jump into a few questions. What strategies do you propose for preventing and reducing crime in Newton County?
Yes. So I plan on taking a common sense approach when it comes to law enforcement. What I mean by that is we have got a lot of resources in this county right now when it comes to the sheriff's office. Not enough deputies, but what we do have, and what I plan on doing is reallocating these resources, because again, the number one job is to prevent crime. And so our job is to answer 911 calls. When you call for help, we are coming. But we got to have enough deputies on patrol to make that happen. Right now, they're scattered all throughout the agency. And so I'm going to bring them back to patrol where they need to be, because the patrol division, that is the backbone of every law enforcement agency across the country. Without them, we can't successfully do our jobs. Crimes are not going to be able to be investigated. The jails are not going to have criminals because, again, nothing's happening. And so that is what we have to do, is we have got to focus on patrol. Not only making sure they've got enough bodies, because right now there's generally anywhere from 5 to 7 on average deputies in this entire county. And I watch them every day because I'm able to see that information in the work that I do. That's not enough. We need anywhere from 15 to 18 deputies out here patrolling these streets to make sure that we are able to prevent crime. Then what we got to do is, obviously, once we get these deputies, we got to make sure they get the training. We've got a lot of new deputies that are here in this county, and they're wanting to do the right thing, but they just don't have enough training. And I see it on my side, as far as the prosecution side of things. When these cases come here to go to court, we're missing a lot of stuff, and that's because they're not getting properly investigated, and that's a huge problem. And again, that's has a lot to do with training. And so we have to make sure that the supervisors are highly trained in what they do, as well as the deputies. There should be no reason why our deputies out here on these roads are not trained in how to collect evidence, how to interview with individuals, interviews and interrogations, how to be proactive out here in the community. There's just so many things that we have got to do better. You know, the community wants better, and that's the way that we're going to be able to do this, is by investing in our people and making sure that they have everything they need to be successful.
Thank you. So, how will you promote community engagement and collaboration between law enforcement and residents?
So that is really just relationship building. And how you do that is by communication. And so one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure, and it used to be this way, but because the information that I was able to gather and show and share with the community, some of that information was pretty upsetting, because it showed a lot of violent crimes that was taking place in this county. But I want the community to know what's happening in this county. I am going to make sure that we have the technology available where you can just go on the Newton County Sheriff's Office website and click a button, and you're going to be able to see what's taking place in this community. You're going to know, and you can even set up these things where you can get an alert. If a burglary or if something happens in your area, you'll be notified. That is one way to start building that trust and building that communication, because now you're giving people an option to be able to see, hey, this just happened. You know, a lot of people work from home nowadays, so why don't we work together? Because these people are working from home. They may have saw something. They may have saw where, hey, there was a white van that just pulled up, you know, occupied by whatever it is. Then they'll share that information with the sheriff's office. Then we can start working those leads. But again, you have to give them the ability to do that. Not only that, then we're going to have our community relations division that's going to go out and just going to continue to build and speak with residents, because I want to hear from you. I want to know what's taking place in your area, and I want to hear your suggestions. What do you think should be done? And then we can work together, come up with a collaborative effort in finding ways to stop all this. And I'll be able to tell you what we can do on the law enforcement side, and that way, again, we'll be able to find this and make this a much safer community. Because I truly believe that an informed community is a safer community.
Thank you. Next question. How will you ensure that deputies receive ongoing training to handle evolving law enforcement challenges and uphold professional standards effectively?
That's simply by having a state-of-the-art training staff, and by working with the Board of Commissioners to create a training facility where we can continue to improve. You know, for years, there's the training center that we use. It's right on the side of the landfill, and it's okay. It's something, but it's not a great training center, because it's just, again, it backs up to the landfill. And so shooting is very important, but updating training constantly, that is what's going to happen. And if I'm elected in office, I know the first 12 months, we are just going to saturate the deputies with training, because again, they need it. And it's important, because if you don't know what to do out there on the road, you're not going to know how to type your report. You're not going to know how to finish everything on the court side of things. And me as an instructor, I'm going to make sure that they have all that training that they need. And I think that's just what's happened. We've seen over the years where we've had deputies who have a lot of experience, but they've just left. They've left this county. It's because they're frustrated with the leadership. And so all that experience is now gone. And so now you've got a lot of younger crew that are really just out there trying to figure it out. And that's where me as the sheriff is going to make sure that the supervisors are held accountable, as well as the deputies. Because again, we have got to do our job, and we got to do it right. Because what we do is affecting lives. And in fact, sometimes people lose lives. And we've got to make sure that we do it right every time. And that is where training comes into play. You have got to train, train, and train. And that's what we are going to do. This is going to be an agency where people are going to know that the Newton County Sheriff's Office, and my goal is to create one of the most professional and one of the best trained agencies in the state of Georgia. And we can do it, but we just got to have somebody in office who's ready and willing to put forth that effort, and that's going to be me.
Thank you. Next question. What measures will you implement to ensure the responsible use of force by law enforcement officers and promote accountability.
Yes, and so again, that has everything to do with training. You train to how you react out here in the field. And so we have a use of force policy that is very stringent, and you got to make sure that obviously the deputies are following that. But again, it's all about training. It really is. And to know what you do, because we have to make split-second decisions that, again, changes lives. And so you've heard the old saying, practice makes perfect. Well, it's not really the truth. It's perfect practice makes perfect responses out here on the field. And so training is so important to make sure that these deputies know exactly what to do when this incident arises. And that's really what it's going to take.
Thank you. Next question, how do you plan to improve law enforcement responses to mental health crisis and provide support to individuals in need?
Years ago, the agency that I was at when I was at Lawrenceville, we implemented a co-responder program. Now, this program, it's nothing new. It's actually been around since about the 90s. But just it's taken a long time for agencies to finally pick up and to do this. And the studies that are coming out, there's not a whole lot of studies, but what's coming out is showing that this works. Now, I know that the sheriff's office now just got a little bit of money to kind of get it going, and hopefully the next fiscal year we're going to be able to get some more money to get this program going. But one is not enough. You're going to need multiple co-responders to be able to do this. And now the co-responder unit is one thing, because these are clinicians. These are not law enforcement agency or law enforcement officers at all. So not only do you have to have the clinicians, but you have to have the deputies that are also trained and that can also go out and act as security for them too. So the good thing is with these clinicians, they have the ability and the resources to make sure the people who are having a mental health situation can get help. Because look, the jail is full of individuals who are having mental health issues. And that's not the place for them. The jail is not the place for them. Someone who is an addict, they need help. Not all of them. Some of them are just going to have to go to jail. I mean, that's what it is, but they really need help. And that's where the clinicians are going to come into play. But then also making sure every deputy is CIT trained, which is crisis intervention training. So they're going to have that training as well to be able to help cope with these situations, because a lot of times, not all the times, but a lot of times, we can talk these people down. And that's our job, is not to raise the stakes and not to get them agitated, but to try to talk them down and then get them to a point where we can actually deal with them and treat them and get them what they need to be.
Thank you. What approaches will you take to combat drug-related crime and address substance abuse issues within the community?
So I'm going to tell you, this hits home. Having a family member who had an issue with some drugs, and me spending most of my law enforcement career, that's been my driven focus. When I was up in Lawrenceville, I was able to work undercover narcotics, and that is something that I really want to fix in this county, because right now there is nothing being done to combat the drugs in this county. It's a shame. There is not an undercover unit to work narcotics in this county. It's crazy. So what I'm going to do as a sheriff, I'm going to put together a multi-jurisdictional drug task force and these investigators are going to be highly trained in what they do. You're not going to know who they are, but they're going to go out here and they're going to go to work. Their job is to get rid of this poison that has taken over our streets. Fentanyl is killing our people left and right. And fentanyl is getting laced in marijuana, with pills, everything. And that is such a dangerous substance. And if we don't act now, we're going to lose it. Now, granted, I know it's always a battle. It's always a battle with drugs, and I'm not sure if there's even a fix to completely stop it. I don't think so. But we got to do something, because right now, again, nothing is being done. And so that is absolutely what I'm going to do. I'm going to work with the other municipalities within this county. And again, we're going to put together this unit, and they're going to go out there and they're going to go to work.
Thank you. How will you work to prevent formation of gangs and intervene effectively to disrupt gang activity in Newton County?
So first and foremost, like I said, we've got to build patrol. You have to build patrol first before you can start creating these specialized units. Again, it's just common sense because they have to be out there answering calls. But once we build patrol, I'm going to make sure that not only everybody who's assigned as a patrol officer or an investigator, but also the detention officers downstairs in the jail. They're going to be trained in gang identification. I want them to be able to start keeping track of all of these gang members that are coming in this county because they're here. That's where a lot of your violent crimes, a lot of your narcotic trafficking, this is all gang related. And again, nothing is being done to combat it. You know, here at the DA's office, we have a prosecutor that is highly trained in prosecuting these cases. But there's not a gang unit. There's nobody here that's enforcing this, that's collecting the criminal gang intelligence. And that's where we have to put together, again, highly trained investigators that can go to work and start identifying these gangs and start arresting these criminals. Because right now, Newton County, in my opinion, it's a free-for-all because they know that they can get away with it because of the deputy shortage and the fact they have nobody that's combating the gangs. So again, we're going to put together a unit that's going to make that happen.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
How do you intend to collaborate with schools to ensure a safe learning environment for students and staff?
So that's where that's the SRO program, the School Resource Officer Program. I know Newton County seems to be transitioning the school system to where they're having their own police department, which is fine. I would tell you as sheriff, I'm going to make sure that we are going to continue to back the school 100%. I want to make sure that our kids and our teachers and the staff are safe. And so we will train with the school resource officers. We're going to train with the school police department. And if they eventually take over all the schools, we are going to back them up, and any time that they need help, we will be there. We'll be there to help with school events if need be. We're going to have that open line of communication where all they got to do is just click the radio and say they need help and we're coming. But again, it's going to be a collaborative effort because the kids are most important in this county for us, and we got to make sure that they are safe, especially at school where they need to learn, and they don't need to be concerned about any acts of violence taking place. So that's what I plan on doing.
Thank you. What steps will you take to increase transparency in the operations of the sheriff's office and build trust within the community?
So, like I mentioned before, I want to have a program that's where the community can just click a link. It's so easy. Most other areas, all these other major counties have it. You can click on it and you can tell exactly what's taking place. Now, it doesn't give you fine details, but it does let you know, hey, there was a homicide here, there was a sexual assault here, there was a burglary, robbery, whatever it is, and it keeps up and it puts it out there for everyone to see. So I want to be able to have that program. Then I will also, my plan is to either monthly or maybe even bi-weekly, I want to have a sheriff forum where I'm able to get out here and talk to you, talk to the public and let you know these are the things that we're working on and these are how we're doing this is what we're doing to improve it. Because again, being open and transparent, that's another way to build trust. You know, the office of sheriff, especially when it comes to spending money, whatever it is, I want the people to know that this is your money, okay? And this is what we're spending it on. This is who we chose to go with, and this is why. Once we get what we get, then I want to show this is what's happening. It's working. And I'm going to make sure that I present that to the board or however way we need to present that. But that's what we'll be. Open and transparent is the key.
Thank you. How will you ensure that the Office of Sheriff is prepared to respond to emergencies and natural disasters, coordinating with other agencies for effective response and recovery efforts?
For years, there's always been a slight divide between the sheriff's office and the municipalities in this county. And that's going to be one of the things that I'm going to get rid of. I mean, I'm going to make sure that we all are working together, because when an emergency takes place, we all have to know what we're going to do and how we're going to respond. And so you do certain things. You can do an annual tabletop exercise. You can do annual other trainings where we can all come together, and that's everybody. That's from all the municipalities, EMA, GEMA, whatever we need to do. Put all these minds together and come up with solutions, and so that way we are prepared. But that is something you got to do it. You got to do it at least every year. That way we're efficient and we know how it's going to flow. But again, working together is how we're going to make that happen. And so I'm going to make sure that the entire leadership at the Sheriff's Office is trained in NIMS training, which is your National Incident Management Systems. I want to make sure they're all trained in that and know how to act in a certain situation. You know, I've been at the district attorney's office for a little over 2 years now, and never once have our agency been invited to an active shooter training. You know, we're out in the field often. You know, we're out doing whatever we got to do. If we're interviewing witnesses, if we're serving subpoenas, collecting evidence, whatever we may be doing, tracking down criminals. What if an active shooter goes out? And we're right there. I'm the first person that can respond. You need to know what all these other agencies are going to do. And that's where those training has to come together. And that's why we have to work together to make sure that we can do this. But again, it's not happening. And so as sheriff, I will make sure that every gun toter in this county, especially that, is going to be trained in how to react when we have a situation like that. And so, but again, that's going to take everybody coming together and putting up and having a plan of action on what we're going to do to address these major incidents.
Thank you. And thank you for participating in Candidates on the Clock. At this time, can you close us out with any additional information about you, your campaign, and how can the voters get in touch with you?
Yes, absolutely. So again, what this boils down to is it's time. It's time for Newton County to get a change in leadership. We've been in a situation for the last 15 years where things have really just become stagnant at the Sheriff's Office. And again, it's time that we take a step forward and we make our law enforcement agency a proactive department. And the way we're going to do that is by training. And I'm going to make sure that we're going to have that to take place. Not only that, we are going to continue to work with all the municipalities within this area to build relationships, because the Sheriff's Office has a huge responsibility in making sure that we are safe in this county. And there's a lot that needs to take place, and I'm ready. I'm ready to hit the ground running for you. You know, this is going on my 19th, I've started my 19th year in law enforcement, and I've been able to experience working in areas outside of Newton County. You know, Gwinnett County is a massive, massive county, and their law enforcement is really, really good. And I'm going to tell you, I want to be able to bring all those experiences to us here in Newton County, and so that way, again, we can make the Newton County Sheriff's Office one of the most proactive and one of the best trained agencies in the state of Georgia. I plan on making the Sheriff's Office a premier law enforcement agency where everyone is proud to be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you.